to maintain acceptable limits of voltage of the system due to lightning, line surges, and incidental contact with higher voltages. So typically it is a network of all metal that is in your building is bonded and creates a network. Therefore, if in the case of a lightning strike or even a surge in the substations, it would create a network to disperse the electricity. So therefore, no one in the building will get hurt. Like I said on the next slide, you kind of have different ways that you can bond. We have grounding rods, you have grounding rings. Kind of in older houses, everyone you just used to bond to the underground water pipe. But depending on the amount of voltage that is in the building and the amount of voltage that is coming to the building, there's different levels that are needed. Just to clear this up, that the aquatic center itself and the pool are both grounded independently. The pool code has a requirement for grounding, which is also in the NEC, which is in section 680, and then grounding for a building or a structure itself is section 250. So both of those are grounded. Two situations are grounded independently. So their spacing on the grounding rods that we mentioned here and different items like that have to be spaced so the conductivity doesn't go between one or the other. During inspections and codes, I pulled up the review. We did over 20 electrical inspections on the building itself. And like I said, typically in a normal building, we would do maybe 5 or 6. So due to the complexity of the building, there were additional inspections that needed to be done and performed. Building inspections, there was also 30 building inspections. In the department, on the pool side, if you do outdoor pools or any pools, our building inspectors check those, and that's specifically what they're looking for, is making sure those grounding requirements are being done. Now on to the lightning protection. Lightning protection precautions for indoor pools is an issue that poses concerns for recreational facilities in terms of safety, risk management, and loss control. Concerns revolve around whether or not the same thunderstorm precautions for an outdoor pool should be applied to indoor facilities. If you go, you can do a web search, you can check anything, and if you type lightning strikes, you'll get dissenting opinions on both sides. They'll say, well, the whole building is grounded, there's no reason for, there should be no concern about people in the pool. Then you have other ones that just err on the side of caution, is that you can get what's called a side flash. If the lightning strikes the building, it will travel the least of least resistance. And if there's a metal here or a metal there, there's a possibility for a side flash, which means it would literally jump across a room and still try to get out of the building. Could it happen? Yes, but we don't know, because you have the unpredictability of lightning, the strength of lightning. I mean, even if you got a couple of amps, it could fry these computers, because the voltage just would be too much for the microprocessors to handle. So typically, I've checked with the National Weather Service. The YMCA typically has the most pools in the country, so usually their statistics is a broader range, and they've actually had lightning strikes to their natatorium. There was 2. One was in 2011, and I'm not sure the other date, but somebody actually. It struck the building and caused damage to the building. So it's not like outdoor pools don't get struck. Now, granted, no one has ever died or been electrocuted. Indoor pools, yes, indoor pools. So it's hard to say that because people said, hey, don't get in the pool, and that's the reason why we don't have any deaths, but I can't, there's no data to separate that. I guess on the part of the value engineering is that the lightning protection system was removed during the value analysis phase of the project before construction began in 2011. At that point, the building was $900,000 over budget. So it wasn't necessarily that lightning protection was just the thing that was taken out and that's what got us under budget. It was in a whole mass of things that was brought back to council and approved for the final guaranteed price on this facility, the parking deck, and the pool. So at that time, that was what that's the decision that was made. I tried to find something specifically that speaks to this, but the Georgia Department of Public Health, who we regard if we have issues with swimming pools and all that stuff, because they check our outdoor pools as well. They come by and check the chlorine and make sure all that's being distributed like it's supposed to. And the only thing I could find is that they say that no swimming is allowed during heavy rain or when thunder and lightning can be seen or heard. But You got different opinions on that because it just says swimming pools. It doesn't necessarily specify.
I think we have some more information on that. Let's turn it over to the lawyers at this point for what they're still working on it. But we had, I think James called Georgia Tech and said, under what circumstances are you all swimming during a lightning situation? And they recognized this public health, but said they were exempt because they had a letter from the state attorney general. It's not a published opinion, apparently, as I understand it. Lucy's looked. It's apparently a letter, but I don't know that we've gotten a copy of it yet.
Not yet.
Okay, but the tone and the way that they were speaking indicates to us that they were talking about something through their university trustees, and the fact that the university trustees are part of the state sovereign, which counties and cities don't enjoy in that regard, and that they had asked for an exemption as part of the university trustee system, and they believe they have it, but we have not seen this letter. We have no idea why these other couple of counties are exempting themselves, because all counties would be under this regulation. So it could be they're not aware of it or they think they're exempted. But I believe there was some information that we're still looking on, and we need to get with the State Department of Health that when they say pools, they mean pools. It does actually specifically apply to spas. So if it applies to indoor spas, you can only imagine that it would apply to a pool indoors. So a spa, you're supposed to get out of your, if you have a spa, get out of it. Well, some are indoors. I mean, like if the YMCA, they might have a whirlpool or something, a spa. But anyway, so if it applies to spas, which apparently it does, then it could be argued certainly that it applies to pools. So we still have our city attorney trying to track that down to see if there's some exemption from the State Department of Health, whether we have a lightning system or not.
Yes.
Yes.
And additional to that, there are 6 states that have additional lighting protection that's actually in their codes. The state of Florida actually gets struck more than any state, and they actually, any hospital, schools, or prisons, they require additional lightning protection. But other states, I think we're actually number 5 on the list since 2004 in deaths recurring to lightning. But all of those, none of them are associated with a building. Everything is outdoor leisure activities, in a car, things like that. So, like I said, it's not, you have the camp that says, hey, we need to have it, and this is the additional protection we can get, but you don't have anything that says without having it that you have less protection. So it's, on my next slide, you kind of already mentioned it, the error there is on Georgia Tech. We did get that clarified, that they do have lightning protection, and they don't clear the pool, but like I said, we just went by the local pools that we did from the other presentations. You can see Cherokee County has a lightning protection system, and they continue to allow people to swim in them, and even during meets they allow people to do it. But then you also have Augusta, they don't have one, but they allow people, they check, so it's just, like I said, it's just not a prevailing thought one way or the other, which way to go.
Well, let me ask you this, it's interesting. So Georgia Tech, this is interesting. They have a lightning grounding system.
Yes.
But they clear the pool for patrons.
No, that's the error. That's the one you just checked on. The one that we got clarification that that's no.
Okay, so
when I put the presentation together this
Okay.
weekend.
Well, that makes sense.
It's
I was
currently.
going to say.
So,
Okay.
but then you still got you got down, and even CSU's Aquatic Center, during this the NAIA event, they also have lightning protection center, and they had lightning strike, and they cleared the pool as well. So I don't know, even if you have it, it's not necessarily a fail-safe that nothing will happen. You get the comments that possibly once you get out of the pool, then you're subjecting yourself to, getting on a landline phone, which is directly connected during lightning, or in the shower, which would have metal, and you could get electrocuted. So, like I said, it's a real hard thing to pin down to say either way. We talked to the contractor, Brassville Gorey, and he did comment that there will be lightning protection can be added if we so choose to proceed with it. Like I said, you kind of have let's go all the way back. On the building itself, you would have to put 18-foot spires kind of leads and the antennas on 25 by 25 foot grid to on top of the building. So it'll kind of, like I said, the side profile and all those kind of things. And then you'll have to put cabling along the soffit as well, because it's at the point now where it's after the building has been done, so it's being retrofit. So it literally have to be bonded directly to the structure. So the look may have some challenges that we may have to address as well, because you'll have to be bringing it from the roof down to the ground as opposed to incorporating it into the structure, because you don't want to overload the structure. So that's also another.
What was the cost of it?
I eventually, we talked to them before and they told me it was 50,000, and we got a revised number and it's roughly about 41,000.
Okay.
So that would be the cost. This is kind of a commercial grounding is what this would be. As you can kind of see those little spikes you have there, which are the antenna, which accept the lightning as it's being struck, but the issue is just being able to get the wiring down, the cables down to the earth, and also make sure it's not conflicting with the existing grounding we have with the pool and with the structure itself.
Okay. Councilor Allen.
Two questions. One, would you send me a list of all the items that were on the list, including the lightning device, when
Yes,
council approved for it to be removed?
Yes.
And also, I guess the bottom line here today is we're talking about whether we're going to put it in or not. To me, this is an item, it was part of SPLOST. We have SPLOST funds, discretionary SPLOST funds. We could absorb this cost, or?
Well, if the decision is to put it in, we'll figure out the funding. As he said, we were obviously $900,000 over, and so obviously that money has been exhausted. There may be some money somewhere else that we could try and get it from within one of the other bonds. Well, we don't have another bond, but within one of the other projects. But if the decision is that we want to do that, we'll just have to figure it out.
I guess we either decide to put it in or risk losing a future event, if I understand it right. I mean, there was a discussion at the event that was here in town that occurred over whether or not they were going to come later this year.
NAIA?
Yes.
No.
Or whoever it was.
No,
Future
NAIA
events were going to be canceled if we didn't address the lightning process.
Well, as I understand it with NAIA, they were in total agreement with getting people out of the pool when the threat was there.
Okay, well,
So-
with this semantics, are we going to put this in or not? I mean,
that's-
there are other events that are not coming if we don't
Well,
have it.
let me ask you
And it's a
this.
safety device anyway.
Yeah,
Well-
and that's great. I'm glad to have it in, but what if the Georgia Department of Health comes back and says, I don't care what you put in, you can't swim during a lightning storm? What are we going to do? That's why I'm trying to get an opinion from them, because if their opinion is, I don't know why Cherokee County's doing this, we have a regulation that says do not swim in pools, and it doesn't say anything about exemption because of lightning protection systems or anything like that, then it seems to me that's great. We will have put in an extra belt and suspender on safety, which I think is good, but still, we will be prohibited from swimming during lightning.
But this illustrates another reason why we need to have the swim community involved, because they know, they've been doing things like this for years, and they know, what's the normal course. And this illustrates why I'm glad that we are going to be looking at the swim community being more involved, because they would never.
Well, I think we'll know in a couple of days, hopefully. The thing that's suspicious about it is that Georgia Tech was concerned enough, according to what they tell us, that they were concerned enough that they went to the state attorney general to get an exemption from the Department of Health. And if they felt, with all of their resources and so forth, that they had to, regardless of their electric system, had to go to the state attorney general to get an exemption to exclude themselves from the purview of the State Department of Health, it tells me it's not a sure thing that just because you have this $41,000 box on the top that you can have swim meets during lightning.
I understand,
Yeah.
but the bottom line, what Gary is trying to say, when it comes to attracting events, I think we all want that to happen.
Sure.
So I know what he's saying, and I'm going to be honest with you. I always say, when it comes to things, you always err on the side of safety. You know, you can tell me all day long one thing or another, and that's your opinion. But when you put common sense to something and say, well, you know, it seems that we need to have it.
Oh, I'm all for having it. I would concur with any counselor that voted to have it. It's just I want to be clear that we may find out in a couple of days that even if we have it, we still cannot have swim meets ongoing during a lightning storm.
And I do understand what you're saying. You're separating two things. I'm separating common sense that says, you want to know something? If it does happen and we have the system, we're good to go, regardless of what your opinion is.
Yeah.
You understand what?
Yeah, we're good to go. We just can't swim.
But
Yeah.
but I'm talking about the safety. So we don't swim. I'm talking about the safety aspect of it.
And I concur. We can get
And I know we
get
do.
the
I know you-
$41,000 system. We just still may not be able to swim.
But
Not because it's my opinion, because the Georgia Department of Health says.
and I understand that. I'm still saying, they may say that, but if it's a pure safety thing that will safeguard individuals anyway, I'm all for something like that.
Sure. Me
Okay.
too. Me too.
And I know you are.
And
Yeah.
Madam Mayor, is it my understanding from Councilor Allen that someone wants to participate 50% of this cost?
Yeah, they said they wanted to participate.
A quote from a local electrical contractor, and I think it was 40,000 or something like that. You may, did he get, was everybody copied on that email, Mayor? Was the city
I
manager
heard
got it?
50,000 or something.
I can't
Well, I
recall.
think 50 was the general number everybody used. It may have been the number we used when we cut it out, but let me see if I can find it real quick.
So, I think if we've got a private party or entity participating, that cuts the cost in half, and that makes it even more doable
Yeah.
for us. And so we can, why don't I look into that, Madam Mayor, and then whether we have it or not,
We
if
can
we
make the
have it,
decision, yeah.
it depends on whether we get clearance. And so it's my understanding too that the lightning protection protects the building. Does it also protect the people walking bare feet on wet surfaces?
I mean, you could be anywhere and be a conductor, honestly. I mean, because it could come back to but if you're closer to metal, which is the easiest conductor of electricity, then that would put you in more risk.
Okay.
Yes, I mean, it could.
So we would still
You know.
have potential liability even if you have it in, if the state
Yeah.
says you can do it.
Okay, why don't you, Mr. City Manager, pursue the effort of looking into a partnership to get the additional lightning protection? And Mr. City Attorney, why don't you continue to look into this whole Department of Health thing, because I'm just not sure whether it's going to allow us to continue meets. And I think, Dr. Worsley, you were continuing your conversation with Georgia Tech to actually get this letter so we can see what exactly it says.
I made a request yesterday.
Good.
I'm waiting to get that.
Thank you. And also, let's talk directly, if we can, with the gentleman with the state swim meet, so we can understand, not through the tree of conversation, but directly, all the authorities that he's citing to, because the few that have been cited to us when we went and chased him down, they weren't there. So let's get conversation with him so we can get accurate information. All right, we've got Councilor Huff.
Yeah, Madam Mayor, I was just listening. If we install the safety piece at 41,000 and the Georgia Health Department says no, we wasted money.
Well, you still have a lighting protection system, you just can't swim during a meet or any other time. You have to wait until there's no lightning.
Isn't the building protected as far as that wait time?
What is the building protected, what now? I'm sorry?
Is the building grounded and protected?
It's currently-
With them out of the pool during that
it's-
30-minute wait?
It's currently grounded.
As of
yes.
right now, the building is currently grounded, yes. And then the lightning protection adds another level of safety on top of the existing grounding that we have.
Okay, and that's going to make everybody safer even if we can't use the pool?
I don't know if the word is, I mean, it's, Safer, yes. I mean, because, I mean, you can't,
Well-
it wouldn't hurt, but like you said, if your intent is still to continue to swim, that wouldn't change what the Department of Health said, you know, so,
But I'm saying, no, I'm saying the Department of Health says you cannot do it, and you have to come out of the waters for 30 minutes when lightning is in the area. And
it's however long, everyone has a different, I think
I'm
Georgia
saying
High
it's
School
20
has a
minutes,
different-
whatever. I'm saying you have to come out for a specified amount of time.
Correct.
Then who are we protecting?
The building.
You
Because
saying protecting the building.
all the wiring that's in the building, from your communications, all of that stuff is
I mean, are we
what
protecting the brick and mortar, or are we protecting the people?
you're protecting brick and mortar, because
That-
that's the
brick and
ground
mortar
is
Yeah.
attached to the building.
That's what I'm saying, we're protecting brick and mortar.
That's right.
Okay.
If it was your family member, you would want them to get out of the pool,
Yeah, I
out of the
wouldn't.
water,
No.
you know?
Yeah, but I'm saying, you know, with baseball and everything else, they do the same thing.
Oh, yeah.
You know, if it's lightning in the area, everything ceases for a specified amount of time. So I'm just trying to see who's being protected, that's all.
All right, anything further to the lightning system? Are you to the lightning system, Counselor Davis, or something? Okay, yeah, okay, because we've got,
Some of the
Okay.
questions of
All right,
how other
let's-
people do matters.
okay,
And
yeah,
just
go
keep in
ahead.
mind that there's state regulations and county regulations. A lot of counties are under county regulations, they're not under state regulations. So some of these areas that you're talking about may be under county regulations. I think Muskogee County is under state regulations.
Well, why don't we have the city attorney look into that? I just would have to have you look into what the Department of Health thinks about whether they have a preemption clause and allow their
There's-
counties to circumvent their,
There's no exception in this regulation. I'm going to read it for the record. It's Chapter 511-3-5, subsection 10, subsection 11. No swimming allowed during heavy rain or when thunder and lightning can be seen or heard. There's no exception. That's the State Board of Health regulation, and our county Board of Health would be bound by that.
yeah, and so what Counselor Davis, sounds like he's saying that does that preempt counties from adopting contrary? Usually there's a generalized rule that no subdivision of a state can adopt a contrary rule unless allowed to. And so I think you'd have to look and see if that preempts counties from adopting different regulations. So just look and see if we can adopt something and trump the state. That's usually not the way.
I don't think so.
Well,
Yeah.
you can't trump the state, but a county could be completely different from the state. A county doesn't have to comply with the state health codes. They're under their own health codes.
We'll look into
And
that.
that's,
Is that,
I'm
just
just-
if you would look into that states can develop their own health codes and not have to follow state health codes? I don't, no. Okay. Let's see here, we've got Council Barnes, are you still on the electric system? Okay, yeah. All right, so we're to Mayor Pro Tem. You had some referrals.
I just had them in my hand.
Was that back?
One of them is from Mr. Granville on Higgs. And Mr. City Manager, he wants to be added to the speed bump list.
Mr. Granville wants to be added to the speed bump list.
On Higgs,
Spell that.
Granville.
You can have him call. You want to have him, tell him to call the
I
city
got
manager?
information somewhere over here.
Okay. Maybe we can find it, we can get it to the city manager.
And he stays at the top of Higgs. And the problem they have is when those cars come over Higgs now, because you got more cars traveling on Higgs, to alleviate Wilder Drive. You got a lot of senior citizens that live over in that area, and it's hard for them getting in and out of their driveway.
Okay.
And another one on a Miss Scalat, and I have the address. She has a sinkhole in her backyard. And I talked to somebody at rainwater management the other day. And it sounds like it may be on private property, but 3 or 4 years ago, we went out and filled a sinkhole in, and it has reoccurred.
That's not it. No, that's not it.
So we need to check into that. Because I don't know why we did it 3 or 4 years ago, but it has reoccurred.
Okay, and, yeah, we definitely need to look into that, especially if you're telling me it's on private property. And we did something on private property, that would be concerning, so you've got to, we'll check it out.
All right. On Caribou, that is. We have Counselor Woodson.
City manager, or, is there like a list that you can look in the website that would say what, streets are to be surfaced? I need to find out, Broadmoor, by Key Elementary, there was a request made.
Yeah.
And I was wondering where it was on.
Yeah, we've got a pavement management system, our engineering department, and they can tell you exactly, well, they can tell you we rate the street, and we can tell you how it rates, and that will tell you what rating we're working on and how far off that one would be.
Can someone give me or email me and let me know
Yeah.
about Broadmoor?
Deputy City Manager Hodge is making a note, and she'll get some.
It's by Key Elementary. It's in really terrible shape. It's been like that for about a year, almost 2 years now. Okay, thank you very much.
All right, and we have Counselor Barnes.
And, Mr. City Manager, on Honolulu Drive, they did put that cone there. The cone's there. They know we're talking about 3 weeks. Can you let me know when they will be able to repair that sinkhole? The cone's there now, we're placed. Thank you for that.
Sure.
And then the Red Cross, if there's anyone in Columbus that needs a smoke detector, the Red Cross is giving out will install free smoke detectors. You just need to call 706-323-5614. That's the Rosemont office.
All right. And with that, it concludes all comment, and I'll entertain a motion to adjourn. Is there a second? All those in favor, please state aye. Great. We are